back and relax. It's time for your daily dose of Big D energy.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Big D Energy live on the Woodward Sports Network. And right now, we've got the combo that you all asked for, that you've probably been waiting for a very, very long time. I am Flannel Sam, and all of a sudden I feel just a little bit more presidential sitting in the spot that Neil Rule usually occupies. But of course, that goes to a greater version of not presidential at all, unlike, of course, the esteemed Neil Rule. And to my left, we've got four-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty, and my good friend, of course,
Absolutely, Sam Flannel. Looking forward to this. Obviously, KG here to monitor the TD and Spenmo racks. I guess running security. Spenny, is that it? I had timed you at 3.7 seconds that you can get between me and the desk, Sam. So that's what you know. We had spending time that he can get here to save you in 3.7 seconds. So beware. But no, it's always great to see you. I think that before, and obviously you're going to drive this, but I wanted to take this time, and I brought this up on Big D Energy the other day, because you deserve. First thing I did when I came in here, I dabbed you up and I said, congratulations on your boy, Patrick Mahomes.
Hey.
Because what are we going to do? We call it as we see it, and what he did there. My question to you, as you've always been a Patrick Mahomes, and whatever's truther, slappy, whatever it is, break me down. Will you bring, and I don't know if you did, but I want to hear your confidence or whatever through the game, because my back of my mind watching the Super Bowl was, God, San Francisco, man, you're leaving it, you're letting them hang around, and I don't know if you want to give him the ball and allow him to do what he did. Were you utmost confident going into that last drive?
Well, in that last drive, absolutely. I thought that the 49ers really royally effed themselves by going for a field goal. And I understand that when you get to 4th and 4, it's hard to go for it. It's definitely a gutsy call, because you don't want to risk giving Patrick Mahomes the ball back, where all he would need to do is drive the ball to like the 20 or the 25 and kick the game-winning field goal. But if you're the 49ers and you take the ball first, it's kind of touchdown or bust, because you know that the Grim Reaper, Patrick Mahomes, will end your dreams. And that's exactly what he did, especially given the fact that, at least up until he got to field goal range, you give Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City Chiefs offense, orchestrated by Andy Reid and Travis Kelce playing well, 4 downs to get 10 yards. They're going to get it, and they did. I'm not going to lie, though. There were parts in the game where I wasn't super confident when, in the first 2 red zone possessions, the Chiefs got a combined 3 points, which included that Pacheco fumble and that field goal before halftime. And in this third quarter, both teams were struggling to score, but the Chiefs, they got a break with that muffed punt, and they scored a touchdown, and pretty much from that, it was back and forth, but the Chiefs, all they needed was a touchdown to ultimately win the Super Bowl in overtime, and they got it, and you wouldn't want anybody as your quarterback more than Patrick Mahomes in that situation.
You know what the stat, and I hadn't heard anybody really talk about this, but how inefficient for 17 straight offensive drives that they hadn't got into the end zone, and then what did they do? They got in there with their last couple, right? Like when it mattered the most, right? Which is, to me, that's I guess my final is it fair? And I'm gonna go around the room. Is it fair to put the dynasty tab? 3 and 5 years is Kansas City? Is this a dynasty to you guys?
Absolutely. It's 100% a dynasty. 3 out of 5, including 2 in a row. And you brought something else up, because I don't want to just pretend that this whole thing was Patrick Mahomes only. One of the reasons I was always so confident in this team going into the playoffs, even though they did struggle in the regular season at times, particularly offensively, is this defense all season long was elite. And Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid had never really had an elite defense like this. And their running game with Pacheco had been very good all year long. So the defense allowed the Chiefs to have some some offensive struggles, like they did at the end of the Baltimore Ravens game after they scored on the first 2 drives, and then, of course, at the beginning of the Super Bowl. So credit to the defense, credit to Patrick Mahomes as well, and the offense. But yes, this is 100% a dynasty. 3 and 5 years, making sure that other teams like the 49ers don't get any, the Eagles don't get any, Josh Allen doesn't get any, Joe Burrow doesn't get any, Lamar Jackson doesn't get any. That's the dictionary definition of a dynasty to me.
Yeah, I'm calling it a dynasty for sure. You look at, you have arguably the greatest tight end of all time, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, and arguably a top 5 coach of all time. That definitely puts it in dynasty level on top of winning 3 of 5. You can't say it's not a dynasty. I think you look at what they've done. They only lost in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady. So if it wasn't for Tom Brady and that defense, they would have 4. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's a dynasty.
Definitely a dynasty. 3 and 5 years, man. Mahomes leading the charge. And then when you look at it, they've had a big personnel change throughout the way. A lot of people thought they would fall off after Tyreek Hill left the team. We've seen Mahomes do this with now a different assortment of receivers. So I think you can point to that this is something sustainable. And as long as they got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, I always say they got a puncher's chance. So.
And here's my pushback. The only push, and you got to remember they lost one. Spenny, you brought up a great point. So
they did.
That's 4 of 5 with Sam. You brought up an even better point that I got to back you on is look at the quarterbacks that he has beaten. But my pushback to you is no. Because last year's Super Bowl is when the defense stepped up, and we saw last year that it got better and better. Now, I'm not going to say that this year's wasn't better than last year, but we saw the change happen in them winning the Super Bowl, the year before, right? As far as what the defense and Chris Jones. I mean, that's why sort of the disruptor and stuff like this, or the way that they've done. Kansas City is the epitome of how to draft and how to re-sign guys. And to your point, you're going to have to lose somebody that you think in Tyreek Hill or whatever somebody's going to have to get sacrificed. So maybe this is something to prepare for, but it's through the draft. Like, can we all agree that what Kansas City's done is solidified is their draft?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, you even look at direct comparisons. They lost Frank Clark, but George Karlaftis stepped up at the exact same position. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, but in the secondary, they've managed to get even better with guys like Reed and Edwards and 2 great corners. They might lose L'Jarius Sneed. That might be the guy that has to get sacrificed. But, of course, Trent McDuffie has stepped up on the other side and developed into an all-pro player. And you saw in the Super Bowl how valuable he was. All of those PBUs where he wasn't interfering, just incredible. So yes, through the draft, Brett Veach has certainly laid stake to the claim that he is one of the best GMs in NFL history as well. And don't forget, he picked Patrick Mahomes, plus all of the supplementary pieces around him that have made this team dynastic at this point.
No, I agree. So I wanted to take this time to give you your flowers.
Oh, thank you.
And stuff like that. So, and it'll be interesting because I don't think that they're done. I mean, that's the one thing is that listening to the interviews and the comments, and whether it's Kelsey or whatever, Mahomes and stuff like this, they're talking about winning 2 to get to 3.
Yeah.
Right. That's all it is, and to me that's sort of confidence. But no, I just wanted to give you flowers and congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. I, of course, didn't have anything to do with it. I will never. But at the same time, I have been the biggest Patrick Mahomes slappy here. And if the Lions aren't going to do it, I would like the Chiefs to continue winning and help build Patrick Mahomes' trophy case. But before we get into the Red Wings too much, because this is off the sheet, but I just have to say it because it's going to be a recurring thing with myself, whether it's on Wake Up Woodward or Big D Energy. That team in Ann Arbor, that rat basketball program, lost at Illinois by 29 last night.
Damn.
And I get it, Illinois is a better team and Michigan blows, and they didn't have Doug McDaniel because he doesn't play road games right now. But still,
which is so stupid.
It is so stupid. This is just
wait. Why? Why doesn't he play road?
His suspension for the year was he can't play road games. That was his punishment.
Is that team or league?
Team.
Well,
I've never heard of it.
Zach, wait, you got to stay home and go to the bar and watch the game?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, it's looking pretty bleak, right? I mean, it's looking more than just bleak. And my question is, because it's not just last night; it's the fact that in Michigan's last 2 road games, at Nebraska, at Illinois, they've lost by a combined 49 points. My question is, and this is to Ward Manuel, the Michigan AD, whatever goes down in the basketball program, is Juwan Howard's permanent residence now Champaign or Illinois, or was he allowed to come back home with the team? Because at this point, it's just an absolute embarrassment. I mean, it doesn't. He basically is, to me, Juwan Howard is how I also feel about Matt Patricia on the Lions. And I understand that there was a little bit of initial success with Juwan Howard at Michigan, and they've had some good recruiting classes, but the fact that it has just been burned down, this program, to a level that they're the worst Power 5 team in college basketball after, for about a decade stretch, they were really humming and they were really damn good and they were making Final Fours, they were making Elite Eights, they were making Sweet 16s, they had #1 draft picks. It's just how far this team has fallen. I personally, and I know I'm not actually going to do it, I'm not advocating arson or anything like that, I just want to be the one that lights the match on this program right now. See, I mean, obviously, like hypothetically, and do the whole, remember, I forgot which performance it was, where Jimi Hendrix lit his guitar on fire and was just going like this or whatever. That's me to the Michigan basketball program right now. It's an absolute embarrassment, and I had to get that out there before we got into some more positive topics.
Hold on. I got here. Here, Sam, this is only apropos. Katz has a question. He says your take that there is a standard for Michigan basketball is false. The game last night is another day sample of that. Like, as far as is there a standard, or is it just inmates running the asylum, or?
Well, that's the problem. Right now, I don't know if there is a standard. My point is more that there should be. This is a program that has experienced a lot of success, a lot of recent success. They won a national championship in '89. They've been to they've had 4 national championship game appearances in the last, slightly over 30 years. They've had more Final Fours in their team's history than Syracuse. I mean, this is a team that should be held to a standard. They should be making deep tournament runs every single year, or at least having good regular seasons and making the tournament every single year. I know the tournament's a little random at times. It's just, there should be a standard. I think there are people who right now, and I can't necessarily even blame you, they're living off of the high of the football national championship, and so am I. Trust me, this basketball team doesn't so much personally anger me as it does, it highlights that there should be a standard with this program, because, like I said, over their history, they've been a very good program. And just recently, there was a decade stretch where they were one of the best teams. They were one of the best programs in the Big Ten. You could argue the best program in the Big Ten. And right now, they're probably the worst Power 5 team in college basketball. They have 8 wins and 3 in conference. Oof. Michigan State has never experienced that level of futility on the basketball floor. Most programs have not. In Michigan, this is a program that should have a standard.
So which is worse, the Pistons record or Michigan?
Michigan.
See, that's what I'm hearing. You're telling me that this is more as bad as the Pistons are, and what we're watching, and that inefficiency. Guys, Michigan basketball is worse. But you brought up a great point, Sam. If there was a season for them to do it, it's this one, because you're a football school.
Yeah, no.
And all Michigan fans sort of like, it's almost like everybody's resigned to the fact, well, yeah, I sold Juwan Howard's soul to the devil to win the football game for Jim Harbaugh, and I'm good with that until next year. I think what I'm hearing from you, though, which is scarier, is that you don't see a way out. Like, this isn't just we're having a tough time, we got injuries and stuff like this. This is a fundamental program deficiency that, how are you going to get out of it?
Well, and I know we have to get to break, and we'll get to the Red Wings, a team that actually has hope but took a loss last night. But we'll talk more into that. But my thing with Michigan and Juwan Howard, it doesn't matter if they've had good recruiting classes or not. The 2022 season, where they had Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate, and still Hunter Dickinson was still there, they made the Sweet 16, but they had an extremely disappointing regular season in which they started number 6 and then they ended up squeaking into the tournament. And then the last season, which was the absolute worst, where you had 2 top 15 picks on your team and Hunter Dickinson, they didn't even make the tournament. This year, it really bottomed out because Michigan doesn't have any talent. Yeah. But then again, it's not like they have worst program in the Big Ten talent. They've got, I would say, middle of the pack Big Ten talent.
They should beat like Rutgers.
They should absolutely. I mean, of course, after they have a 9-point halftime lead and a 15-point second half lead, they should. But they should be beating teams like that. This should be a team that challenges even the Purdue's and the Michigan States when they play them at home. Of course, I'm not saying in the standings, but it's not happening. It's the worst that Michigan basketball has ever been, and I think I need to be the voice that there needs to be standards. I get it. If you say that Michigan basketball was sacrificed for Michigan football, I understand that, and I'm not even mad at it. But when you see it in real time, it's just really damn frustrating.
Standards, and oh wow, you've come a long way. Hey, I got a better idea, Sam. You know what? I'm not even a basketball guy, but my idea is even better. Why don't you all go to Dispo?
Yes.
Visit Dispo Dispensary, Michigan Basketball today for exclusive new deals and experience a team that curates an unbelievable atmosphere mixed with fresh inventory from Michigan's largest variety of products. Come through our stores or order on DoorDash today. New year, new deal, same plug. Dispo Dispensary, disposhops.com. Your local cannabis plug.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man-meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
And welcome back to Big D Energy live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. The man to my left is 4-time Stanley Cup champion and my good friend, Darren McCarty. A couple more of my good friends are Spencer Raxter in the TD booth and Ken G in the sound booth.
Yes,
and of course, we have to talk about the Detroit Red Wings, and I'm really glad that I have Darren McCarty to my left for that, and Spencer Raxter to my right, because we got some hockey experts in this house, one more than the other. No offense, Spencer, but you wouldn't take offense to that, of course. The Detroit Red Wings, they started off their 4-game road trip last night with an 8-4 loss to the Edmonton Oilers. This was a game in which, going into the third period, it was tied at 3, and then it all just kind of fell apart. But what was also notable about last night's game, there were 2 things. One, for the Detroit Red Wings, Ville Husso, their goaltender, who last year was their best goaltender and this year was having a bit of a disappointing season, probably more than a bit. He goes out early in the game right after coming back from injury. And of course, and this is something that's just going to happen sometimes when you go up against the best of the best, Connor McDavid, 6 assists, just absolutely unbelievable. And of course, you got Draisaitl there, who's phenomenal as well, had a goal and an assist. So D-Mac, is this the type of game that worries you about the Detroit Red Wings, or was this just a spot of one of the all-time greats had an all-time great game and the Red Wings will be just fine? Because Edmonton's a tough place to play.
No, I told you yesterday. I mean, the worst thing, this was probably the easiest bet for Edmonton in the over of the year. Why is that breaking down? Edmonton had gone into the All-Star break with a 16-game winning streak. They had a chance to tie the record in LA on last Saturday night or whatever, and they got shut out 4-0. There was a viral clip of Connor McDavid breaking sticks on the bench in frustration. Ooh. Right? With what that team has put together and the mission that the Edmonton Oilers are on, and the window, they're sort of at their end of their window. coming back home, going out west. Now, the biggest concern and the biggest thing is look at the way Alex Lyons played. And Ville Husso's coming back. So Alex Lyon is like, I got the night off.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm hoping for Ville Husso to be rocking his stuff. And then unfortunately, coming back from a lower body injury and stuff like that, you can recur injuries. So you saw that. Now, you mentioned the fact that, it was 3-3 going into the third. Again, you win a period, you win a game, but everything sort of fell apart. So it sort of played out the way that I had that on the list. Like I told everybody yesterday, is don't expect to win. Not saying that you couldn't, not saying you weren't in a position, but this is a game and this is a road trip, right? Where I said yesterday, where you're trying to get half the points, 4 points out of 8 or 5 out of 10, just to keep pace. So this isn't a big loss, but again, now it makes the game in Vancouver tonight that much more imperative and that much harder. So you never want that. Like I said, it's the NHL, so it's going to be tough. But I don't look at it. I see in the chat thread, yeah, you're frustrating. You didn't get the goaltending performance that you wanted, but if you're the Detroit Red Wings and you're Coach Lalonde or whatever, you've quickly got to erase that because you got to go out and find a way to get 2 points tonight.
Yeah, and Detroit Tabber in the chat, tough team for Husso to come back to as well. That's a hell of a reward if you're Ville Husso, and the fact that injury was kind of added to insult. Tough night for him. Tough night for yeah.
And here's the point, right? Detroit Dabber 313. First in again, I saw you there, Dabber. Way to go. But here's the problem, because Tampa, Toronto, New Jersey, they all win. So it's like keeping pace. Is that like you can get away sometimes too? So last night, if we would have lost and all these other teams would have lost, then it doesn't hurt you. But again, that's why you have that cushion. Now that cushion of whatever points from the team chasing you.
And Shohei Ohtani pitches 7 shutout innings and goes 2 for 4 with maybe a 3-run home run and a double. You just kind of tip your cap and say, good game, fella. And that's kind of what it was with Connor McDavid. And even to a lesser extent this season when the Lions went to Baltimore. Obviously that was a terrible, horrible loss. But you could kind of put it behind you really fast because it was MVP Lamar Jackson having one of the best passing games of his career against the Lions. So not making excuses, it's just sometimes you're going to lose these type of games. And I think to me, what this game highlighted was how important it was to get that comeback win on Saturday against Vancouver at home. Boom. Absolutely unbelievable, which capped off a 10-2-2 stretch, which really put them right back into the playoff race. And I think Edmonton is one that you can drop, but this also makes the games at Vancouver, of course, more important. But at Calgary and Seattle, those are not playoff teams. Those are teams that the Red Wings can get. And I agree with you. 4 points on this 4-game road trip, and you don't really have to worry about what other teams are doing. You can just kind of say, we held serve, everything's fine. But anything less than that, and it's a little bit of a disappointment, even with the cushion that they've been able to build for themselves.
No, but you nailed it, like right there. That's why that game the other night against Vancouver, because now if you look back in your last 15 games, you're 10-3-2, and you're feeling good about yourself. Yes. But you got to start it again. And you, like I said, you just got to go out there and if you're getting points, and that's why even losing in overtime, getting that point, it's so imperative at the end of the year. How many times, Spenny, in the past, in this Bettman hockey age or whatever, are we waiting to the last week of the year? There's 3 games left. There's 6 teams. There's a point. And there's a team that's like, oh, man, there's if we would have won this game or held this lead and stuff. So bottom line, did yesterday's game throw you off, or it was sort of a spot, wasn't it?
No, it was a spot, definitely. Like you said, you had a red-hot Edmonton team going into that LA game where they got shut out, and they were going to come back for a vengeance. Unfortunately, the Red Wings were in their crosshairs. You got Hyman, who's the leader of goals on their team. I think he's got 32 now. Not getting checked by Petrie for some reason, and he just gets an easy poke in front of the net that kind of put the game out of reach for the Red Wings. And I don't like to see it, but also it kind of exposed what we already knew about the Red Wings and where they don't really have a second goaltender, especially now with Husso getting injured again. I'm not sure the update on what that is, but hopefully he's not out for too long. But the back end of that defense, man, I mean, the front four is solid. The first four is solid. But other than that, like, I can't see Petrie on the ice anymore. I'm over Jeff Petrie and what he's doing. So we need something there. That's what we talked about. Chychrun. We've talked about them possibly making a trade for somebody. But it's when you're going up against top flight talent like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Hyman, those guys are going to get exposed even more. Yeah.
You got exposed to the weakness of what it is. And, you know, if the analogy of the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference is that the East or the West is, you know, more open, more, you know, got more of the skaters and, you know, stuff like that. But I think that's it. Exposed. Your weaknesses were exposed. And again, here's the thing, right? We can put the puck in the net. You score 4 goals, you should be able to win hockey games. We're just back into this is going to be the question that's always there. Who's going to keep the puck out of the net? So, you know, the imperativeness of Husso going down, will things change? I don't know. But, you know, maybe we pay a little bit more attention right now. Like a lot of things, I was trying to think back in history. Sometimes things go down on this trip, right? You know, where some changes are made or trades. It doesn't have to go down right to the trade deadline. So, and I know for a fact that they understand the position that they're in. Mm-hmm. So whether that's a call up, you know, or you know, it's a move. It's something I'm sure that you know, Stevie's working the phones.
Yes, and Todd Sane, he puts in the chat, just hold on tight because we've got a long show ahead of us. What deadline moves do you see coming, D-Mac? Stay tuned for the second hour, Todd Sane, because we are going to talk about that. But coming up next, we're going to get away from the Red Wing talk just a little bit and do some Lions off season because everybody knows that the Lions are coming and this is going to be a pivotal off season for them. But first, if they need some defense, Darren McCarty, what's the place where they want to go?
It's only one place. That's Guardian Alarm. You know that. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts, professional technicians. Take the time to recommend security and automated solutions specific to your needs. But I need you to call Guardian Alarm today. The number, 1-800.
Stay out.
24/7 professional monitoring. Call anytime, day or night. Know that the Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as it's needed. But I need you to call the number today, 1-800.
Stay out.
Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who've been proven to care. Business, pleasure. Guardian Alarm, they don't care. They just want you to call the number, 1-800.
Stay out. Stay out of making me stay up past my bedtime. Red Wings and Pistons just to both get blown out.
That's fair. I second everything he just said. I'm tired this morning.
Guardian Alarm, your local security experts. Tell them Big D Energy. Oh, he sent you.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Company has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com. Welcome back to Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. The man you just heard echo my live is Spencer Raxter in the TD booth. I got Darren McCarty, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, to my left, and KG in the sound booth. And Spencer, you asked an interesting question on the show sheet, which I think is worthy of a deep discussion. How will Brad Holmes attack this draft? And with Brad Holmes in drafting, it's been synonymous with building a team that went from 3-13-1 in 2021 to a 17-point halftime lead at the NFC Championship game in 2023. Brad Holmes has certainly did a hell of a job. And when it comes to Brad Holmes and his drafting and what is predictive of what he's going to do in 2024, I look at some of the past trends. And one of the things that's been discussed, at least among shows in Detroit and even nationally, are the Detroit Lions going to trade up from 29 and try to nab their guy, whether it be a Jared Verse or a corner or something like that? And Brad Holmes, he has shown a history of either trading up or trading back. You look at 2023, the trade down to get Jahmyr Gibbs from 6 to 12, which also included them getting the 34th pick, which landed them Sam Laporta. And then later on in that draft, going up from 48 to 45, which landed them Brian Branch. Those were obviously two very, very successful trades. And you even look at 2022, the trade up to get Jamison Williams, which I think, and also that included the 46th pick to get Josh Paschal, which the returns on that trade I think are a little bit more mixed, but still it was a trade that landed some players. And people forget in 2021, Brad Holmes traded up to the 130 pick to get Derek Barnes. So there's certainly options with that. You could certainly see Brad Holmes making some trades, whether it be up or back. I would probably say with a first round pick up. And then when you look at needs for the Detroit Lions, I think some of the obvious ones are edge rusher or defensive lineman, corner, or depending on what the Lions do with Jonah Jackson, a guard. And there's a few guards in the draft, one in particular that I have that has a special place in his heart for me. You probably could guess who that is, but I'll get into it a little bit later. So, Darren McCarty, how do you expect Brad Holmes to attack this 2024 draft?
You know what? I think there's sort of a game plan. I think that he will sort of expose what he's going to do when we see what he does with free agency. And that free agency and what he does re-signing, I expect him to re-sign a lot of our guys. Just sort of that's what he's proven to and stick to it. I think that, whether if, say, for example, he goes after a defensive lineman or defensive tackle in free agency, well, then I'm more thinking that they're going to look for a cornerback in the draft. If they go opposite and look for the backfield in the free agency, then maybe on the line or the end and stuff like this. Sam, the one thing is I don't like to sit here right now. I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Brad Holmes knows exactly, but do I think at one spot if Brad Holmes thinks moving up in the draft at any part to make this team better, he'll do it. So I don't think he's locked. I don't think, we were talking about before the big conversation point of contention is people, remember spending a couple of weeks ago, were saying, well, he might trade out of the first round. The draft's in Detroit, and then they don't get a draft pick in the thing. Well, you know what? He might, because that's the best thing for the team. So, I mean, whatever he's going to do, this is the time that he cooks. So I think right now, if you ask them, they probably got 5 different game plans, and it's sort of how they played out. One thing I do think is that he will start at home and start taking care of contracts and guys that we know around here first, and then adding to that. So I think we're a little bit of time away, but we'll be able to see a little bit of the writing on the wall or which direction. But again, just like last year, just like, Neil's face when Jack Campbell was drafted, Braylon walking whatever like this, there might be some unexpecteds. There might be the Jahmyr Gibbs and the Jamison Williams, picked where people are questioning the Jack Campbells. But the one thing that I know for sure, Brad Holmes is going to do what Brad Holmes does, and he's going to cook.
Oh yeah, and Brandon Katz, he says something good in the chat, so I will read it because it segues into a point that I want to make. Detroit's biggest needs are cornerbacks and pass rushers, which is something that I touched on earlier on in the segment. But When I saw that this was a topic on the show sheet, what I decided to do, and I know this might not be indicative of anything, but I think it's a good gauge at least, is I went to 5 different mock drafts and to see who they had the Lions picking at number 29. The first one I went to was from CBS Sports, which has them picking cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry, which I think is definitely intriguing. He was a first-team All-American. He's somebody that I think for most of the year, if the Lions knew that they were going to pick at 29, would think he's not going to be there. But there have been some questions about him, but I still think that pick is full of intrigue. USA Today has the Lions taking cornerback Ennis Rakestraw Jr. from Missouri, who's somebody who is getting on the radar and shooting up draft boards. He had some pretty impressive coverage stats if you want to go check those out. A PFF one has the Lions drafting edge rusher Darius Robinson from Missouri at 29, who this was his first year really playing full-time edge. He led Missouri in sacks, but his previous years in college, he actually played interior defensive line. He just lost some weight. But that shows you that maybe he could do both in the NFL, and at the very least could be an intriguing option as a bookend edge rusher to Aiden Hutchinson. The fourth one was an Sports Illustrated mock draft, which had the Lions taking Braylon Trice at number 29, edge rusher from Wisconsin, who had 17 sacks in his last 2 seasons there, and of course would be an intriguing option opposite Aiden Hutchinson. And at number 5, this is a Walter Football mock draft, has the Lions taking cornerback Cam Hart from Notre Dame, whose claim to fame this season was his coverage stats were very, very good, but he also did a very good job limiting Marvin Harrison Jr. when Ohio State went up against Notre Dame. Maserati Marv only had 3 receptions for 32 yards. My point in all of that is that all of these drafts have them taking different players, 3 corners or 2 edge rushers, so it's pretty much universally known, Spenny, that that's probably, at least when it goes to the first round, depending on free agency and all of that, that's where the Lions are projected to go with their number 29 overall pick.
I would agree. Yeah, I don't know, man. I also look at these interior offensive linemen.
Sure,
I think those are going to be of the highest value when you look at the 29 spot and who's going to be there, who's going to be available there. If Kool-Aid McKinstry is there, would I hate the pick? No. Is he my favorite corner in the draft? No. So I'm not going to be mad if they do that. But I think one of these interior offensive linemen might be the move, and I think they might be adding someone in free agency in one of those positions, whether it be an edge player or a cornerback. But it's tough for me I can't get in the homes or get in the mind of a genius like Brad Holmes. Nobody knows what this guy's going to do. He could trade up. He could trade back. I'm nothing is too crazy to me, but interior offensive linemen I think will have the highest value of player at 29. You'll have the best position group would be those guys who are going to be available at 29.
And you know what, Spenny? That's you got what's your best part of your team. You always got to keep improving it. And again, this goes back to, you know, is something done with Jonah Jackson before that? Or is there something done with what's up with Vitai's contract? And what smoke clears a little bit to see, but you might be right, because what you're telling me is you might be able to get the second best interior lineman as opposed to the 4th best cornerback, or the 6th best end rusher or whatever like this, and just your value. You'd brought up that, and I see that. And looking at a lot of the mock drafts, I saw who's the guy, the Oregon guy,
Jackson Powers Johnson.
He's one that's
1,300 plus snaps, 0 sacks allowed.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, those are stats that you just can't ignore.
Those are Ragnow stats.
Yeah. And he's probably
Sewell stats. Yeah. So I mean, it's like he almost fits into the core. But do you guys agree? Sort of. Like, we're all sort of saying the same thing. When he's a mad side, you don't know what he's going to do or whatever like that. But are you looking and waiting for a certain move? Or is it something like that as they start re-signing their own guys that dictate which way they're going to go? Or do you, maybe because free agency's first, do you expect a splash in free agency?
That's so tough because that's not really how they've operated. But they do have the cap space to do it. So if there's a corner out there, if there's an edge rusher, if there's an interior defensive lineman, I know KG and Spencer are really big on Justin Matabuke, and how could you not? I would certainly love that. There's some cheaper options as well, like a Bryce Huff, for example, somebody that I'm certainly intrigued by. Last year was on the Jets, had 10 sacks. I could certainly I could certainly see something like that, and that will, of course, dictate what Brad Holmes does in the draft. And Just a Fan, I got to give you a shout out. Shout out to the Big D Energy crew. Thank you, Just a Fan. You're somebody who I've had some battles with on air, but you're a very valued member. And now that I'm kind of part-time on BDE, I can take some credit for that as well, for being part of the BDE crew. But Kenji, I want to get to you because I could see you chomping at the bit, and you know your stuff when it comes to Lions and draft. How do you think Brad Holmes will attack this 2024 draft?
I don't think he'll sit still. I want to start with that. And the more the days go on, I'm starting to think that he will definitely be more aggressive this offseason. He's already hired 2 defensive coaches. He's already signing defensive players to future reserve deals. So that shows me that he knows that this defense is in dire need of some help. The position they value most is tough because I think it's pass rusher. I think they want to go get an edge in the draft, but I wouldn't be surprised if they moved up to get one of these premier corners. It just depends on how the board shakes out. To me, if you can get your interior defensive lineman in free agency, there's a lot of good people in the market there, but the edge and corner are positions where, yes, you need to sign somebody, but you also need to draft for depth purposes because we're losing a lot of talent as well. So I expect him to go, I believe, edge rusher, but it just depends on what corner falls to what spot. He could move up for that corner.
Like a Terrian Arnold, for example, somebody like that. If that's somebody that he falls in love with, Brad Holmes, and I think he was in love with Devon Witherspoon, and unfortunately, or fortunately for the Lions, however you want to look at it, didn't get a chance to get him. I'm certainly hearing a lot about edge rusher, a lot about corner, interior. Spenny, you brought up guard, and I know I kind of teased it a little bit in the beginning, and I know I'm the biggest homer there is. Zach Zinner in the later rounds seems pretty damn intriguing to me. And here's the thing, and I'm not saying that Zach Zinner is the same player as this guy, but Bob Quinn, he who shall not be named, he did make a good pick with Jonah Jackson in the 2020 draft. He could, and he was a third round number 75 overall, and Zach Zinner this season. And I know this was a little bit skewed because he unfortunately missed about half the Ohio State game, all of the Big Ten championship, and all of the college football playoff due to that gruesome injury. He didn't allow a single sack or hit when he this season from the guard position, and he was obviously good in the run.
For everybody in the chat that's saying, well, Holmes inherited his whole offensive line except for Sewell. But inheriting something and realizing what the strength of your team is and making it better and better, right? Like, it's a priority, and he knows it's a priority. That's what makes this team go. So the fact that, thank God, Bob Quinn left him something.
Yeah, and when it comes to Holmes in this offensive line, Brad Holmes drafted Penei Sewell, and I get it, Penei Sewell kind of fell to him, but that wasn't the pick that was consensus or anything like that. There were people who were saying Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is a hell of a player in his own right, but I think the Lions got the right guy. And
I wanted Micah Parsons.
And that's 100% fair. Micah Parsons is, I mean, you basically got a gold jacket guy in Micah Parsons for the Cowboys and a gold jacket guy for the Lions in Penei Sewell. But he also, and this is something that I think people are coming around to when you saw in his play this year, Graham Glasgow was a hell of a free agent signing by Brad Holmes and made even more important because of the unfortunate injury to Vaitai, which when it comes to Vaitai, unfortunately, it's something that you have to prepare for, and Brad Holmes did, and Graham Glasgow had a hell of a year. So Brad Holmes, he deserves all the credit in the world for building this team, even though some offensive linemen like a Decker and a Ragnow and a Jonah Jackson, those were holdovers from the Bob Quinn administration. But Bob Quinn is still he who shall not be named because he did a lot more harm than good. But I guess the overlying point of all of this is edge rusher, corner, interior defensive lineman, guard. Those are all positions in which there are some intriguing players in the draft, intriguing players that could fall to the line.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Are you tired of wearing the same old Detroit sports merch? It's a new era in sports wearables, new designs, amazing apparel, and the ultimate swag. Check out Woodward Sports' latest gear at woodwardsports.com and click shop. Hoodies, tees, and the hats that are guaranteed to turn heads. Get the latest designs today at woodwardsports.com and click shop. And while we were away, a little bit of a nice chat exchange that I want to read. Brandon Katz. Parsons impacts almost every play on defense. Darren McCarty, except when he faces Sewell.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a hell of a comeback.
Put him in a bread box.
Hey, I gotta say, happy Valentine's Day, everybody out there. Bizarro Brandon Katz.
Yeah.
Definitely my top 5, and Brandon Katz my least favorite. So
true.
I want to send both these an equal happy Valentine's Day. Thanks for being part of the show. And yeah, except when he faces Penei Sewell.
Although,
I mean, who do you want? Like, where do you? And I get it. It's really apples and oranges, Sam. Like, for all us sensible people, you can't go wrong with whoever you got. You'd love to have them both on your team or whatever. But where you're based and what is our strength or whatever? Is offensive. That's where your dogs are. I would say more of Dallas. In the past, they were known as their offensive line, but it's more come from their defense, right? From their defense, even the excitement. You know what? Brand has 7-8 interceptions, but run backs.
But what
you
is
got
that defense
Diggs back there. You got, like, it's more flash to there. He's a great player, but what does he do head to head? And I think that, can we not all agree that Penei Sewell has his number?
Well, and then George Rebo takes it a little bit too far. Parsons is a scrub. Come on now. Let's not do this. Let's not be so slappy that we have to hate on every single thing that's not the
But that's what happens when you overtake America's team.
That's
right?
fair.
You
No,
know,
that's
that's
fair.
what
That's
happens
fair.
when there's a downfall of America's team and there's a new America's team.
And the Lions certainly are the new America's team. There's no doubt about that. And,
Wow, if you can figure that out, even you figured that out. Guys, do you not know Sam Flannel even knows this Spenny? I told you. There will be cracks, and there'll be bright little, like, if we stay on them. So I'm proud of you, Sam.
Well, thank you for that. And speaking of Darren McCarty, this is an interesting question for D-Mac in particular, because he is the only one in this room that has played professional sports at a very high level, I may add in, and at a championship level. And I want to ask this, because you went through the journey with the Red Wings and getting close and not quite getting there, and then obviously in 97 and then 98 and then 02 and 2009 paying it off with Stanley Cup championships. My bad, 2008. That was
9
my
we lost.
Bad. Yep,
and
my
then
bad.
you want to lose in 7, great save, and then retire. But, you know, I know how you're digging it in. Now I know why you brought up that scrub comment before he came to me.
No.
Anyways, question.
No, today's not the day. That was my bad. 8 did not mean to bring up the painful memories of 9. D-Mac, is next season Super Bowl or bust for the Detroit Lions?
You know what? So your fandom means that there's every bone in my body that says that they can get there, but I can't put that there because they hadn't won the NFC Championship game. That's more of a no-mer if I'm Lindsay and I'm a San Francisco fan and whatever, but that's been the same way for years. For us, it's getting back to the NFC Championship, right? For us, you know what it is? It's not Super Bowl to me. It's hosting the NFC Championship game, because if we host the NFC Championship games, which means be in the top tier. And you know what, guys? I know the schedule. I know that we're playing such a tougher schedule this year, and probably there's a chance that you might have one less win, or you might be a little bit tougher waters. But to me, if you're going to look on speculation, I think you should. First off, if I'm out of the gate, just like last year saying we got to make the playoffs, host a game and win the championship, win the North, right? That was all the focus. Now it's sort of host the NFC championship or win the first seed to be able to control your own destiny. To me, that's more, I don't know if it's more realistic, because it might be more realistic to get into the playoffs and have to win your way in there. But to me, I think the focus is that if they have to come, any team has to come through Detroit, that they're not. It's a no done deal. Yeah. So as an athlete, Sam, and as that's why home ice advantage was so important. At least to us, and hockey's a different game where you play 7-game series, but home ice. And I think that as the years go on, as the NHL game changed or whatever, home ice didn't matter as much. But in the NFL, what do we see? And what do we know with our team? How do they play at home in front of us?
Well, Ford Field, I think, moving forward, especially in the playoffs, and you saw it in this year's playoffs, is going to be as good of a home field advantage as you're ever going to find. The noise is going to be deafening. The opponents are going to have to use silent count pretty much every single play of every single game, and that's certainly an advantage. And I think if the Lions get a home, they host the NFC Championship game, it makes it exponentially more likely that they will win it. And Alex Haggerty, to answer the question, yes, Super Bowl or bust. We will be universally regarded as a top 3 NFC and a top 7 NFL team. We're not sneaking up on anyone. And Spenny, I want to go to you next. Is 2024 Super Bowl or bust for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is Super Bowl or bust. You could say this team is one player away from making the Super Bowl this year. Mm-hmm. And when you get there, it's 50-50 whether you win or lose. So I do think it's Super Bowl or bust. I think you need to take advantage of that, go after it, and get in there. I understand we get the chats all the time. We want sustained success. We want a dynasty. Like, let's cool the horses real fast. It starts with one. Everything starts with one. You got to get in there. You got to win it first before you can have sustained success or a dynasty. You need one Super Bowl. So I'd rather be the Rams than the Niners right now, personally. I'd rather be the Rams who cashed one in and they got their Super Bowl, and then now they're a pretty good team, still playoff team, than the Niners who are consistently getting to the pinnacle and choking. I'd rather be the Steelers or the Ravens who win one every 7-8 years than the Bills who got there 4 times and lost all 4 times. Like
100%.
Yeah. So,
and I don't think that the NFC Championship. Let me rephrase this. I think that the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl, is a better bet than it is than NFC Championship. What I'd like to see, though, right, is set yourself up, because I will agree, the NFC North's going to be tougher. Yep. You know, the Philly's going to try to figure, you know, I'll give you props, right? They got to figure out their coordinators. They're going to get better. San Fran's going to be able to run it back. It's not going to be easy. I think the path, though, right, if we do have to play on the road, I hope we have to play in a dome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sure. So I'm not even afraid to go into Dallas or stuff like that. But I think that or you know, wherever they're like a dome, that if we go on the road, that's what it is. Now we're putting everything way too ahead, because it is going to be a lot tougher this year, especially. But we know what we have, right? We know what we have, and I agree with that. We are top 3 in the NFC. We are a top 7. There is no sneaking up. The schedule's not going to let you sneak up on anybody. No. So, but you're going to be better. This team will be better. This team at the end of the year, to what we kick off with, do you not agree that this team will be better?
Of course.
Not just by the players and their experience. Jesus, just like fading away.
I know the struggle.
Cow is going.
I know the struggle.
You got me, Spenny?
Yep.
That was gross.
Yeah, that damn chair, right?
Oh, you don't gotta tell D-Mac.
No, we don't have to tell D-Mac. And,
warm me down. This chair's almost gone out that window.
Yeah, and Spenny, you mentioned something interesting with if you're the Rams in 2021, the team that the Lions made the Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford trade for, by the way, they kind of went in with the F them picks. And I'm not saying that the Lions are going to do that, but
you don't got to fully do that.
Well, not only were the Rams, and the crazy thing about the Rams is not only did they do F them picks and they won a Super Bowl, with the picks that they were able to get in 2023, they were able to draft Kobe Turner and Puka Nacua in later rounds and become relevant again. So the Rams are certainly an interesting model to follow. And KG, I want to get your opinion on this. Is 2024 Super Bowl or bust for the Detroit Lions?
Absolutely, man. And there's no other team besides the 49ers that is better than the Lions in the NFC. We have to just call it is what it is, man. And D-Mac made a great point, because my minimum expectation for this team is the number 1 seed. If we can get that NFC championship in Ford Field has already proven to be one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, especially in the postseason. But we gotta stop, man. Lions fans, I love y'all, but I'm sick of the tougher schedule crap, man. Like, yes, the schedule is going to be tougher, but we're going to be tougher as well. Do you not realize that we've had a top 3 offense, or top 5, but bordering top 3 offense the past 2 seasons? If we can get the defense up to a top 15 defense, they're probably winning the Super Bowl, guys. So yeah, I'm sick of this schedule. It's harder stuff. We're going to be a better team as well, especially defensively. And if the offense can keep the same pace, they're going to be right back there, man. So absolutely, the Super Bowl should be of utmost importance to this team going forward.
And I agree with you, and I agree with Spenny about it is Super Bowl or bust. And I'll take it one step further. I think, to me, it is win the Super Bowl or bust.
Yes.
And here's something that is very uncomfortable to do, and I know this firsthand as a Michigan fan. I want to make a little bit of a cross comparison. Knowing that you could have what is perceived as a good season that also ends up in the grand scheme of things meaning nothing, that is pretty daunting. I mean, I'll just compare it to Michigan this year. Michigan, it was always national championship or bust, and I think those expectations were even furthered by all the allegations and whatnot, that if they did not win the national championship, this season was a failure. It was going to be open season on Michigan throughout all of the offseason if they didn't win it all. That meant that despite beating Ohio State for the 3rd time in a row in a great game that I was at, despite winning in the Rose Bowl, which was the ultimate jubilation at that point, if they didn't get that win against Washington in the national championship game, the whole season would have felt like a failure or like a missed opportunity. And I think that's what the Lions fans are going to have to get more comfortable with this next year. I'm not saying the Lions have to win the Super Bowl the 5 consecutive years or anything like that. I'm just saying that moving forward with the team that they have, with the coaching staff continuity, at least for this season, with the GM and Brad Holmes, this is going to be a team that is going to be looked at as one of the teams to beat in the NFL for at least the foreseeable future. And you have to have the expectation that if they don't win a Super Bowl every single year, it is a somewhat of a failure of a season, or maybe even a full failure if the years continue to stack up with them not winning it. And that's okay. You're going to fail from time to time. Yeah. Every great player fails. Every great team fails. But right now, the Lions should see themselves as the 49ers, as the Chiefs, as the Baltimore Ravens, as the Buffalo Bills, or even, as silly as this sounds in terms of expectations, as the Dallas Cowboys. I know the Dallas Cowboys, we can laugh at them, and they deserve to be laughed at, don't get me wrong, but it's Super Bowl or bust for every single team that I just mentioned. I mean, the best example is, do you think the Buffalo Bills cared about the playoff win they got against the Pittsburgh Steelers this year? Probably not. Do you think the San Francisco 49ers even cared about the NFC Championship game when they got against the Detroit Lions? No. Do you think the Baltimore Ravens cared about the playoff win that they got against the Houston Texans? No. But they were on different stages of the track this season. This particular 2023 for the Lions was a resounding success, but they have gotten over some humps. And moving forward, the Detroit Lions, I think every single season, at least for the foreseeable future, should be win the Super Bowl or bust. And sometimes you're not going to get there, but they better get there sometime, at least in the next 5 years or so.
You know what? There's one thing that you got me thinking of, and Kenny, when you brought up as far as the offense and defense, it is Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah.
No, it really is. You know why? And they're sitting there in there because this is the difference between hockey and football or whatever. Is your coordinators. Mm-hmm. This is your last shot with Ben Johnson. Yeah. You don't think he's gone after this year, and maybe Aaron Glenn or maybe some of the coaches or whatever like that. That window, maybe you might get 2 years. Right. So these next 2 years right now, Yes,
I agree.
So you guys are right, but I'm on the same page as let's go out. I don't care how tough it is. Get better. You know what it is to do, and the reality is, Kenny, if you can get that defense down, you are arguably one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
100%. And Steve O'Baby, Sam, are you seriously comparing the Lions to the Kansas City Chiefs? I mean, just in terms of teams that are near the top of teams you would expect to compete for the Super Bowl next year. Obviously the Chiefs have to be respected, and they should be the favorites for the foreseeable future as long as they keep winning it. But still, the Lions are right there. So for it should be Super Bowl or bust for them, like it always is for the Kansas City Chiefs. But you know what is never a bust in any way, shape, or form? It's always the Super Bowl of insurance. That is Swiss.
Absolutely. And you know what? Football season's over. Hockey season's here. It's always a great time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it with Swiss Insurance, just like we do here at Woodward Sports. Give my buddy Mark a call at Swiss Insurance today, 248-800-4177, or go to SwissINS.com.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles. And with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Football season is officially over, and spring training is right around the corner. However, Jack Labrador is 24/7, 365 days a year. Learn how to play now on your phone at jacklabrador.gg. 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. And remember that once you go Jack, you never go back. Go to jacklabrador.gg. Welcome back, cruising into the second hour of Big D Energy. I am Flannel Sam. The man to my left is Darren McCarty. Man in the TD booth, my right tackle for today is Spencer Raxter, and my left tackle is Kenji in the sound booth. And speaking of Jack Labrador, I remember that day, and this is where I have to self-own a little bit, where Jack Labrador came in and introduced us all to the game, and everybody was just stacking up wins, and they kept having me play because they gotta give away the prizes that they were giving. Everybody has to win, but up until the bitter end, I did not win once, and then they gave me a sympathy prize. So I am the worst at Woodward Sports Network when it comes to Jack Labrador, as I am the worst at a lot of things in life. But you know what? That is okay because I persevere. Yes, I persevere. And you know who else has persevered a lot through some doubts? One Jared Goff. And the 33rd team came up with a list of the top quarterbacks in the NFL heading into the 2024 season. And Jared Goff came in at 14, even after the season that he had, the playoff run that he had. And if you want to look at some of the names in front of him, I'm sure there are some that are a lot more egregious than others and some that are very egregious. Wow. So, Darren McCarty, I will start with you. Is this just blatantly disrespectful to Jared Goff to have him at 14 and even more so some of the players that they have above him?
I can't even see the list. But the fact that he's at 14, like how is he? All right.
They have Prescott at 6.
I can.
Lawrence at 8.
Yeah,
Love
dude,
it.
Trevor,
10.
no. And Joe Burrow, I get it for whatever else. No, so if you put him around 8, 9. I put Jordan Love. Well, you know what? Like I had Dak, and I moved Dak down. I moved Lawrence down. Herbert down. What the hell is he getting all the flowers for? I mean, now that he's got your boy, Big Jim, is that going to be?
They keep trying to push him, but
I can
deal with that.
It's It's sort of on brand, though. Mm-hmm. On brand for lists and on brand for the league and the way it's looked.
Yeah. If Goff not in your top 10, I can't respect your list, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that, KG. It's at minimum top 10 for Jared Goff. And when I was looking at that list, obviously 14 is far too low. When you just look at what Jared Goff accomplished this season, 2nd in passing yards, 4th in passing touchdowns, 11th in QBR, 9th in quarterback rating, and had a very, very good playoff run in which he had a quarterback rating of over 100, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and no lost fumbles. And he might have been the quarterback of a Super Bowl team, or maybe even a Super Bowl winning team, if Josh Reynolds could have caught either one of those 2 passes, particularly the first one on 4th and 2, up 14 in the 3rd quarter. But to me, 14 is bad. I got 3 names to me that are absolutely egregious and should be nowhere near above him. One is Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence is somebody that I was pretty high on coming into the year, but the reality is Trevor Lawrence had a disappointing season. I know he dealt with some injuries, but this year the division was almost universally predicted, unless your name is Amon-Ra, you can take your victory flowers again, to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And with Trevor Lawrence, he had Evan Ingram, who had a damn good year from the tight end position. He had Calvin Ridley, who was coming back from suspension. He had Christian Kirk, who he developed a rapport with the season before, and Travis Etienne in the backfield. And the Jacksonville Jaguars missed the playoffs, and Trevor Lawrence did not lead Jared Goff in really any major statistical passing stat this season. And a similar situation to me was Geno Smith, because if you would have asked if you would have asked the season before, if you wanted to put Geno over Jared Goff heading into the year, maybe you would have done it. But this season, the Seattle Seahawks did not make the playoffs. And the Seahawks, Geno Smith had Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Kenneth Walker in the backfield. And the Seattle Seahawks were 9-8, and Geno Smith did not lead Jared Goff in really any major statistical passing category. And then, of course, Kyler Murray. And don't get me wrong, when Kyler Murray came back to the Arizona Cardinals in that terrible situation, he played relatively well. But with Kyler Murray, you can't really say that he's accomplished enough, especially given the fact that he's also coming back from injury, to put him ahead of Jared Goff. You just can't do it as of right now. Even though Kyler Murray has shown some flashes, I think a lot of the Arizona Cardinals fan base doesn't even like him, and there's still some questions on why did they pay him. So that's 3 right there. If you look at a few more, you could definitely argue that Goff should be ahead of Dak. Now, Dak, he had a better regular season. You can't deny that. But Dak also imploded in the playoffs, which is what he does. I know it wasn't all his fault, but that game included a pick 6. Jordan Love is another tough one. I think you could actually argue for Love, and I might even put him above Jared Goff. I know a lot of Lions fans aren't going to like that, but he did what he did this season with Aaron Jones missing a lot of the year, and just a relatively ineffective running game and a defense that was shoddy at times. And Jordan Love put up damn good stats. Cousins is another one where, coming back from an Achilles, I don't know if I could in good conscience put him above Goff. But he did have a good year when he played, and he was another one that wasn't really supported by much of a run game. And then Stafford, I think Stafford and Goff, the fact that they're so far apart on that list is the most egregious. I think they should be like right next to each other, because Stafford had a hell of a year as well and had a hell of a game in the playoffs, but I think I would have to give the edge to Goff just because of what happened in the playoffs. It's nitpicky and all of that. So I guess the underlying point is that Jared Goff could be, to me, as high as like 6 or 7, but certainly in the top 10 at minimum. Amon-Ra, was this list disrespectful to Jared Goff?
I think so. I think the big ones.
Wow. So time out.
Yeah.
Right. You got to remember, this is very important, because Spenny is the one. And anybody here, we know that Spenny is a Goff, always been a truther to whatever else. So pay attention to what this man says right here.
Yeah, I think this is disrespectful to Jared Goff. You mentioned a couple of the ones that I thought were egregious. One of them for sure is Geno Smith. Yeah. If you wanted to do it last year, then you had a better argument. But Geno Smith didn't do much this year in an offense loaded with weapons. And he had a worse year than Jared Goff. Kyler Murray, like, you can't put Kyler Murray over Jared Goff at this point. You can't do it. And I think Prescott is too high. If you put him over Goff, I'm not going to be mad at you for it. But he was, I think he led the league in touchdown passes. I think he had 36 or something like that. But I'm not too mad about that one, but I am mad at him at 6 above Stroud and Burrow.
Yeah.
On top of those two guys with Murray and Smith, I think you got to put him over Cousins as well. Even though Kirk Cousins was having a great year, he went down with the injury, and he's got Justin Jefferson on his side, who is the best receiver in the NFL. Like that definitely makes things a little easier when if you need to get bailed out, you can just close your eyes and throw it to Justin Jefferson. So I think those are the 3 guys that I look at that you got to put Goff over, and I would put him over Jordan Love for right now. I think Jordan Love could be better going forward based on the way he plays the game, but I need to see him do it for more than 1 year until I'm convinced.
And that's fair. If you want to put Goff ahead of Jordan Love, I think that is definitely arguable, and certainly
Trevor Lawrence. I didn't mention Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
he should be ahead of Trevor Lawrence, too.
God, Trevor Lawrence, one of the most disappointing players in the NFL this year,
yes.
without a shadow of a doubt. KG, I know you hated that list.
Yeah.
You're a Goff guy. How disrespectful was this to Jared Goff to have him at 14?
Yeah, that's ridiculous, man. He's borderline top 5. Like, there's no way that you can have him 14 on this list. And I see a lot of people in the chat debating, like physical attributes and stuff like that. It's not a physical attribute power ranking. It is a 2024 offseason power ranking. And the fact that you have QBs that didn't even make the playoffs ahead of this guy is just absolutely it's blasphemous, man. Just being real.
And I talked about it with Easy last night, and Easy's a big Trevor Lawrence guy. And is Trevor Lawrence, does he have a better arm? Is he more mobile? Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But when you look at it on the field, when both of them stepped on the field and played football last year, Jared Goff was better. Jared Goff was more effective. And yeah, you might say it's because of the offensive lines, but like you said, he had Evan Ingram. He had Travis Etienne have a career year. He had 2 receivers doing well, and Doug Peterson is no slouch as a coach. So I think that Trevor Lawrence is more physically gifted, but Jared Goff was a better quarterback last year.
Well, and even if you wanted, and here's the thing, if Trevor Lawrence had just had a slightly worse year than Jared Goff and maybe still led the Jacksonville Jaguars to a division title, I think you'd have a leg to stand on when it comes to physical attributes, which is why I'm not going to hate you if you put Stafford over Goff in this particular list. But Trevor Lawrence, if we're being honest, was like the 23rd best quarterback in the NFL last year. He was not good. Maybe that's a little bit
was
of an
he the most
exaggeration.
Disappointing?
Yes.
Yeah,
by far.
And the one that on the list, Spenny did this, and I know he's a Sparty dog, but the fact that anytime Kirk Cousins is above Jared Goff with what he's done or something, that, like, to me, that's almost like they disrespect on purpose. Like I don't know, Kirk. That just rubs me the wrong way for what he did in this division. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything about Jordan Love could be whatever like that, yet to prove it and stuff. But it's just like, did we not just watch what he just did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, and Jordan Love, if you want to get nitpicky with him, he threw a couple of terrible interceptions to Dre Greenlaw in the NFC divisional round game, or maybe the Packers would have faced the Lions in the NFC Championship.
And another one on this list that I don't think is getting enough talk is Desmond Ridder at 26.
Oh,
Desmond Ridder should be 31 or 32.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm taking O'Connell, Howell, Levis, and Watson over Desmond Ridder, like easily. If you can make an argument for him wanting him over Pickett or Zappi, but he's got to be a bottom 3 quarterback in that.
Definitely agree.
Desmond Ridder is awful.
He is terrible.
Yeah.
He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, and the Atlanta Falcons will never win a damn thing as long as he's QB.
The Falcons have a great offensive line, 2 very good running backs, and 2 to 3 great pass catchers out there. Like Kyle Pitts, I understand he's been a disappointment, but we saw what he could do in his rookie year. Drake London's a stud out there. You've got 2 guys, Bijan Robinson, who is fantastic, and Tyler Algier, who's already run for 1,000 yards in this league. There's no reason for Desmond Ridder to be bad. He just sucks at football.
Well, and because he sucks, I think at this point, Kyle Pitts is in hell. Drake London is in hell.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Pitts, when he had Matt Ryan as his quarterback, and I know people think Kyle Pitts blows, but he had more receiving yards as a rookie from the tight end position than Sam Laporta did. I'm not saying his rookie season was better. I'm just giving some context that Kyle Pitts can play. Drake London, I think, is a guy whose stats would rival Garrett Wilson's and Chris Olave if he had a better quarterback to throw him the ball, but instead it's Desmond Ridder.
Spenny, Zach Wilson or Desmond Ridder?
I would take Zach Wilson for sure.
As well.
Yeah.
That's how bad Ridder is.
Yeah.
Hey, but do you know where Desmond Ridder could maybe do some workouts once he gets cut from the league and probably even cut from the CFL. Planet Fitness, of course. Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. At Planet Fitness, you'll experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month, no commitment. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
Game is won in the trenches, and our big fellas don't mess around. The Woodward Heavyweights on Woodward Sports. Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Feldman Chevrolet, Detroit's #1 Chevy dealer. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and first-class car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. With 18 locations, there's a Feldman dealership in your backyard. Visit feldmanauto.com to find the location nearest you. Catch Woodward Sports Network live from Feldman Chevrolet of Novi every other Monday. Welcome back to Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. The man to my left is four-time Stanley Cup champion, former Detroit Red Wing Darren McCarty. My right tackle in the TD booth today is Spencer Rexter, also of the esteemed Woodward Heavyweights. And in the sound booth is Ken G, who is also on Wake Up Woodward and Big D Energy. So a lot of visibility among everybody on this show today. You just can't beat it. And I want to pay off on some of the Red Wing talk that was talked about early on in the show, talking about the game at Edmonton, what it means for the Red Wings in the future. And Todd Sane asked this question earlier and directed it to Darren McCarty, because why wouldn't you, out of all the people in this room for sure. What do you think that Steve Yzerman does at the deadline to maybe help supplement this Red Wings team and further the playoff push?
You know, now's the time where it's going around. I mean, you think of that, and obviously the first thing that you're going to think of is how does he help out this defense?
Sure.
You know, but, you know, is that question, is that answer with Simon Edvinsson and Johansson and with the guys that you have in the minors? That's what you have to see. If you're looking at it, we brought up a name, Jacob Chychrun, who's in Ottawa. The problem is now, and like, you got to go into the salary cap and stuff like this, but Tampa just lost one of their top two guys in Mikhail Sergachev, right? Yeah. So that puts the imperativeness on a team like Tampa to go out and make a move, and who knows if they can, but where you're going to overpay. You know, teams are looking, you know, everybody is looking not for the win-win, but they want to, you know, take the advantage on a trade. You know, so when it comes to Stevie, you really don't know. What I do know, right, is that if he views this team as a playoff team and a contender, right, he's not going to get away from his base 30,000-foot plan of foundation and building, which means he's not going to make a trade or make a move just to make a move if it hinders the team. Right, but he's gonna make a move if it helps. I expect him to, in some sort. Now, maybe that's adding depth on the forward and going out and maybe getting an expiring contract, you know, somewhere like Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh, you know, stuff like this. The one thing that I do expect, Spenny, though, is that your boy Johnny Burgers, who's lighting it up in the AHL right now, it seems that he's not part of the plan here, but he could be part of the mix and moving. And, you could want to move some of these young guys out to make some spots or to go out and get a guy. So, Jacob Chychrun at 29 with the years that he has ahead of him would be a hell of a move. But I don't know if Steve wants to put all his eggs in that basket right now because we're not quite at that point yet. We all know it's goaltending. Everybody knows around the league it's goaltending, but I just don't know if that move for that goaltender is there. So I think we got what we got, right? Unless one of the young guys, or if they're going to give Coaster a shot, but I think he's still a year away or so. So again, these are the tough decisions that Steve Yzerman has to make, but that's why it's the wiser plan. So the one thing is I do expect him to do something this year. I do expect him to do something, and if I was leaning somewhere, it's to solidify, like Spenny said, right? Top 4 guys are okay, but can you get that 5 and 6 guy, or can, whether you said you're tired of seeing Jeff Petrie, well, is there a replacement for it? Is there somebody to come back? So I think the bounce back game for the Wings tonight, it obviously, and yes, you're at that part of the season, you go out and you lose tonight, that's 2 in a row. These conversations, get amped up. But it's not just Detroit. Look at all the rest of those teams, especially in the Eastern Conference right there, that have to make some of the similar decisions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is 100% true. And Spenny, I think I'm kind of with you there on Jeff Petrie, unfortunately. So, Spenmo Rax, what do you think Steve Yzerman does at the deadline? What does he need to do? And does he need to do something? I'll add this question. Does he need to do something to further this playoff push and make it so the Red Wings can achieve their max capacity?
I think he does. I mean, we know the East is a beast. There's a lot of teams in there fighting for those spots. I would like to see them try to jump Toronto. It's going to be hard because of obviously the road trip they're on now, and then having Colorado at home right after you get off the road trip.
Did you see Morgan Riley got 5 games?
Yeah. So that could be something where you might be able to vault Toronto because of his absence, but you're going to have to put some points together, and you're going to have to keep scoring points at a high rate if you want to stay in the East. I do think they need to go and solidify that blue line. I think they need to get somebody that can be in that top 4. And I agree with D-Mac. I think it's going to be Burgers that gets moved just because he is NHL ready. Every time he gets brought up to the Red Wings, he goes out there, he puts the puck in the back of the net. Unfortunately, he can't crack this roster on a consistent basis. But you look at the forwards that the Red Wings have in that prospects pool other than Burgers, whether it be Mazur or Casper or even Lombardi or Danielson, like you've got guys in there that are also on the come up. So losing a Johnny Burgers isn't going to hurt your prospect too much. And a guy on the blue line that can solidify that first 4 defense, I think, does more than holding on to Johnny Burgers personally.
So Todd's saying, I guess the question was already answered. Who are the best trade candidates on the wing? Are you guys both agreeing on Berggren?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
And you have options because you have draft capital too, and that's the one thing is in the Steve Yzerman's war chest or whatever. He's got a lot of ammunition. He's got a lot of different young players. It comes down what happens. It's a numbers game and it's a role game. So, the ice time. That's where the Perrons and the Fabries and they go a different way. But there still is some value there. So they've played 52 games, which means they have 30 left, possible 60 points. They're sitting with 60 points right now. They're in good shape, right? So if you out of those 30 games if you can win 20 of those 30 games, boom, automatic playoff team. That's 100 points.
Oh yeah.
You got to get to 96. I think 96 is the least. So that's 30. So you see where you're working with margin and whatever else. Now, different parts of the schedule. Why do I say that? Because Steve O'Baby's all worried about you out there because you're all losing your minds about last night, right? About the Edmonton win. It's not about that. It's in the increments because if they go out and win tonight, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you have to look at it. And you know what? You look at I got to give them credit until they come off this road trip and they don't do something well or they don't maintain and they put themselves in that position, but they've done the work. They've bounced back. They've been able to play on the road, right?
Yeah.
So this is all part of it. And I'm sure this is some of the context and concept when we're talking about the Lions next year too, with the schedule that they have. But who gives a shit? Everybody's got to play it. So go find a way to win.
I mean, in that recent 10-3-2 stretch, that included a road win at Florida, a road win at Toronto, a home win against Vegas, a home win against Vancouver. I mean, those were not...
You started out west, too.
Yeah, you started out west,
swept
yes,
the West Coast
yes.
to California, which isn't Anaheim, San Jose, and L.A. That isn't easy
LA's
because the nightlife... Back in the day would get you more than the hockey would.
And remember what happened last year when the Red Wings
KG.
really started to make their playoff push was they had a great West Canada road trip, and then obviously Rasmussen got hurt, and that kind of blew off the rails after that. But it really started in that West Canada trip where they won 3 of 4 games, and everybody's like, okay, all right, they're in a good position now, and then they lost to Ottawa.
Hey, you know what? Everybody should really, follow Bizarro Brandon Katz because, as he says, it's important to keep an even keel in the midst of individual wins and losses.
Yeah.
Hey,
what a fucking brilliant...
Hey, Bizarro Brandon Katz is spitting because I know...
He spits all the time.
I know Brandon Katz and Spen Morax have had their battles, but Bizarro Brandon Katz, Spenny knows his stuff. Great take, Spenny. So there we go. We got to highlight the nice things as well, and I happen to agree with Bizarro Brandon Katz because...
Thank you.
Yes, and but... Another thing that Spenny has to tell us about is if you have a pet, where should you go?
Obviously, I got Holly waiting at home for me, but if I need to pick her up some food before I go home, all I got to do is go to Premier Pet
And if I got to go get the Princess Penelope Lou, she's got to get her cat food.
Yeah.
I mean, I go Premier Pet Supply too.
How can you not? Yeah. Shout out Fish. It's the best when it comes to your pet. Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Same prices and all the conveniences of the big box and online retailers with one major difference. They're family and locally owned and operated for 30 plus years. They have 60 brands of food and nutrition experts to help you. Same day local curbside home delivery. Premier Pet Supply. Give your pet the best. www.premierpetsupply.com.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man-meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
What happens when you run a great business for over 50 years? You expand and offer more products to more people. That's exactly what Les Stanford did by adding Les Stanford Buick GMC. The same great service that customers have come to know and trust on Woodward Ave, just south of 9 Mile. Check out Les Stanford in Dearborn today at lesstanford.com. Les Stanford Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Welcome back to Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network. And after we talked about the Detroit Red Wings, a team that is certainly ascending, along with the Lions ascending, we got to talk about the Detroit Pistons, unfortunately. Yeah. And, the Pistons and Troy Weaver, they were certainly active at the trade deadline. What the results were, how you interpreted them, that's to be seen, and definitely a wide range of opinions. But they did start their West Coast trip with 2 wins at Sacramento and at Portland. And then they lost at the Clippers in a game that was close. I mean, losing at the Clippers by 6 there's no shame in that. And then last night they took the L in pretty much a dribble-to-dribble blowout at the Los Angeles Lakers. And as much as we've talked about and even I kind of mentioned on Wake Up Woodward, I believe it was yesterday, that at this point in the Pistons season, I am certainly more optimistic than I thought I would be at this point. The bar was very, 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 very low, and the reality is that the Detroit Pistons are about to barrel roll their way into a 5th consecutive just awful season in which they're one of the worst teams in the NBA, and their 4th consecutive awful season in which they're one of the worst teams in the NBA under the general managership of one Troy Weaver. So, Spencer, I got to ask you this first because I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this. Should Troy Weaver be on the hot seat, or has that ship been sailed long time ago?
That ship has been sailed a long time ago. Troy Weaver should be fired. There's no hot seat. He's been on the hot seat for the past couple of years. The team is worse than when he got here with it. And I understand you had to break it down and gut it before you can plant the seeds and grow, but it's worse than it was last year.
Yeah.
And that cannot be a thing. You cannot have that be possible. So I understand maybe he's handcuffed by the Tellums. Maybe my whole thing has been clear out the whole front office. Get rid of all of them. Get rid of the Tellums, get rid of Weaver, and start fresh, because the draft magic that Troy Weaver has had, his first draft is horrible. You look at it right now, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. His second draft, it was good, but like Cade fell into his lap, so I'm not going to give him that one. You have the first number 1 overall pick. You don't get credit for that. His third draft, it looks good. Looks very good, obviously, with Ivy and Darren. I think they're both going to be studs. And the book is out on Nassar yet, although I have high hopes for him. But like 2 out of 4, you can't be doing that. You can't be going 2 out of 4 when you need those picks to rebuild, because you're not going to be getting stars to come to Detroit in this godforsaken era of Detroit basketball. So, I'm out. I've been out all year already.
And so is that the big move? Is that when the front office, it doesn't matter what? I always wonder is Monty Williams just go home and just count his money? Yeah. Because that's like pretty much, right? That's what he's going to do. And
that's why he came.
Like, do you feel bad for him, or is it his responsibility? Because I always go back to him saying that the young guys can't handle adversity. Mm-hmm. Are they getting better at handling adversity? And is there development? At least here as a Detroit sports fan, no matter what, even we're talking like how bleak the Tigers were, whatever like that, but there were glimmers of hope, and there's, slowly, but surely we want to cheer and stuff like that. It's the development, right, Spenny? It's the fact that you see him going backwards. Now, you see him make what are all these moves at the trade deadline to acquire guys to cut to whatever? To me, I thought Troy Weaver, to me, it's more smoke and mirrors, and he's just as inept as the owner.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's definitely Tom Gores.
So you're at. I think I'm where you're at. Is if they make some upper management changes, then maybe that'll help. But do you really think that'll help? Because
I don't know. I don't think that is the one kind of slide I give to Troy Weaver, is you're dealing with Tom Gores and the Tellums, who don't let you execute your vision or your plan to what you think it should.
Do we know that for a fact?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So again, there's it seems to be that this has become the Tellin issue, because time after time, Sam, you just said 5 years in a row.
Yeah, this is going to be the 5th year in a row of just horrific basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like worst record in the league. What is it? 20 wins, 20, 23, 17, and now. And now, excuse me, and now I got a little choked up about that because it's so hard to talk about 8 and 45 at this point. Yeah, that's horrific basketball. And for the record, I've had discussions, including on-air discussions, that have turned into pretty contentious screaming matches with even Detroit Kool-Aid. And can you imagine that guy getting mad? He even got mad at me one day because he's been adamant from the start. Not that he's excusing Troy Weaver or anything like that, but I take his word for it because he's an insider here. That
right, exactly. He spends more time down there and seen more bad basketball. Yes. He's collected more turnovers than I have likes for this mustache today, and I got 100.
Well, he's always been adamant that it's just too many cooks in the kitchen. It's the Tellums, it's Tom Gores, it's Stefanski, and Troy Weaver has not always been able to execute his vision up to the point of where he would want it to be. And, well, regardless of the problem, the Detroit Pistons have just played terrible, terrible basketball. And you talked about it as well, that Troy Weaver has made some very good draft picks, like a Jaden Ivey, for example, a Jalen Duren. Sasser looks like a good pick. Asar Thompson, other than the fact that he has a worse three-point shot than I do, has some value to a team, most certainly in Cade Cunningham as the number 1 overall pick. I get it, that falls into your lap, but there was some talk about Jalen Green and Evan Mobley. So Weaver still had to execute that pick. It's that first draft that just effed us so much because think about this. You know how we know that first draft really sucks? Because Killian Hayes wasn't even traded for anything. He was released.
And he still hasn't been picked up.
And I don't even think Shanghai will pick him up. I think he's going to be lucky to be playing in Lithuania or Romania or something like that up to this point, or maybe his home country of France, or at least...
He couldn't even make the French national team. I don't know if he'll get a French contract.
And why would you at this point? And Sadiq Bey was the major person that he was traded for was James Wiseman, and I don't think anybody.
I'm still mad about
and
that.
I don't think anybody really thinks Isaiah Stewart is a big part of this team moving forward.
He's a big off the bench on a good team,
and that's fair, and that is 100% fair. But he's had some injury issues this year and in past years. And KG, I got to go to you. You look like you're chomping at the bit. Troy Weaver, should he be on the hot seat, or is that ship long been sailed?
Man, his seat been 500 degrees for a while now. Shout out Hot Boys. But, yeah, man, I mean, and it might not be all his fault, but the facts are the facts. The Pistons have been the worst team in the NBA for quite some time now. You look at that first draft, horrible. Yes, he's drafted good talent, but it hasn't helped us any. And then I know the trade deadline, there may have not been a lot he could have did, but I still think he should have at least tried to put a bigger move in the pipeline, especially having all those players acquired at the deadline, because I just don't see what they do in the offseason, man. I feel like he's out of moves at this point. You got a weak free agency class. Yes, you created more cap flexibility, which he's great at. But we don't need more young players on this team, man. We need some experienced vets. We need somebody that's going to make a difference, that can actually come in and help Cade and Ivy progress this thing. And yeah, man, I think it's over for him. He's going to end up falling on the sword, unfortunately. And yeah, but as long as Tom Gores is at the helm, I don't know if it gets any better. As long as the Tellums are up there, I don't see it getting any better anytime soon.
Yeah, and at this point, there really isn't a whole lot of room for hope. I get it that Ivy's looked really good lately, and Duren, Cade, if they can all play together and create a three-headed monster, that would obviously be good. And even when it comes to the moves at the trade deadline, I mean, Simone Fontecchio, he showed some flashes for sure. I mean, I don't necessarily hate it.
It's too little too late, though. Like, yeah, Grimes and Fontecchio are good players. I can't necessarily knock the players, but it's too little too late at this point.
Mm-hmm. But at this point, I mean, when it comes to Grimes and Shake Milton, as I said yesterday on Wake Up Woodward, if this was last year, I'd be like, let's go. We got Shake Milton and Quentin Grimes, but they're both players that have taken massive step backs this year. I mean, Quentin Grimes seems to be in Tom Thibodeau's doghouse, and then Shake Milton has never really fit in Minnesota after having a pretty solid tenure as a bench player and spot starter with those really good 76ers teams. Maybe they can be reclaimed. Maybe that can be the reclamation project. But at this point, I think the problem with the Pistons, and I know Spenny and KG, you will agree, this isn't an 8-45 team in terms of talent. You thought that they were going to be better. The big selling point with this year was the only reason they won 17 games last year was because Cade was out. Mm-hmm. I think everybody thought just Cade being here, and they're going to bump it up to at the very least 25, maybe even 30, and it hasn't happened. And I'm not knocking Cade Cunningham. I still think he's a damn good player and could be an all-star moving forward. But I think this is the season where a lot of my hope has gone, because even with Cade, they're worse.
But isn't there something? Is there something to it? Because now that Cade's been out, Ivy's been able to show, but they're a lot of the same player, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do they fit?
You need some complementary pieces. I mean, we all like these guys and these talent, but something's not meshing and working.
And I do think they got complementary pieces in the trade deadline. Like, I do like Fontecchio, I do like Grimes. Troy Brown Jr. has been pretty solid since he's been playing, but they can't make their first round pick this year. I don't give a shit if it's the number 1 overall pick in the draft, which it should be. You cannot make that pick. An 18-year-old is not going to help this team at all. So and they can't trade it until the lottery already happens, because right now technically the rights go to New York, but it's lottery protected. protected. So we're going to get that pick back. I think they're going to make a trade at draft day and send that pick, Stewart, and somebody else, and try to get a legit starting four. And that I would like to see that.
Yeah, and Danny G, he mentions in the chat, he mentions you. KG, spot on. You could put any GM in our office as long as this office is ran by Tom and these other morons. No GM will work. And
that's fair.
It leads the question as to why are there so many cooks in the kitchen and who the hell are the Tellums and why are they doing anything? And for the record, I'm not an insider. I'm going off of what I hear. I'm going off of what Kool-Aid tells me and what I hear.
We call it Kool-Aid a liar?
No, absolutely not. I'm telling Kool-Aid a truther. That's why I trust what he says.
Attaboy.
I'm definitely calling him a
Just wanted
truther.
you to double down.
Shout out Josh Peck from Drake and Josh, by the way.
You a truther.
Absolutely. Great show. Great character. Yeah. But you know what else is where you can have some fun, except if you're me and you lose all the time? Jack Labrador. Football season is officially over and spring training is right around the corner. However, Jack Labrador is 24/7, 365 days a year. Learn how to play now on your phone at jacklabrador.gg. 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. And remember that once you go Jack, you never go back. Go to jacklabrador.gg.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Are you tired of wearing the same old Detroit sports merch? It's a new era in sports wearables, new designs, amazing apparel, and the ultimate swag. Check out Woodward Sports' latest gear at woodwardsports.com and click shop. Hoodies, tees, and the hats that are guaranteed to turn heads. Get the latest designs today at woodwardsports.com and click shop. Welcome back to Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam, the man to my left, 4-time Stanley Cup champion with the Detroit Red Wings, Darren McCarty. My right tackle in the TD booth is Spenmo Rax, and my left tackle in the sound booth is Ken G. So, I believe I'm guessing by KG it's Kevin Garnett, correct, Spencer?
Yes.
Okay, it's not our very own.
No, it's KG.
It's KG. You really don't like March Madness, but I'm just kidding. But Kevin Garnett.
No, it's this KG.
KG. It is that KG.
Yeah, he said
it yesterday.
Oh, you know what? Good for you, man. So why do you think March Madness is dead? I'll go straight to the source.
It's just not fun anymore. And like I said, it could just be a personal thing with me, but one are gone of the days where you had powerhouse teams, especially with NIL and stuff like that. It just doesn't feel the same. Normally by this point in the year, I would know like who are the top 10 prospects that I should be on the lookout for in the NBA. Who are the teams that I should be looking out for going into the tournament. But yeah, I don't know if it's just because Michigan basketball is dead, just all around. But it doesn't feel like it used to feel.
Well, it certainly doesn't for me because I'd be happy if the NCAA tournament just was dead and gone by the wayside. But I will go to Spencer Raxter as somebody whose basketball team is at least going to be in the tournament this year and is consistently there and makes some deep runs. Spencer, how do you feel about March Madness? Is it dead or are you still pretty excited about it?
I think college basketball as a whole has been taking L's because you look at half the best players now, the top 5 or 5 of the top 8 players in most drafts either play in the G League or they play overseas. And so that's what's kind of been killing college basketball. Like what KG said, you don't have these prospects where you look at, oh shit, there's an Anthony Davis, there's a Devin Booker, there's these guys that I know, that I see that are going to be stars in the league. Most of those guys are either playing for the G League Ignite or they're playing overseas right now. So that is kind of what's killing college basketball. From a prospect pool, scenario, but I still like March Madness. I'm still a fan of March Madness. It's one of my favorite years or favorite times of the year is March Madness, just because of the parity, the buzzer beaters, the game winners, the sudden death elimination. It's a very intense tournament. Like, you can ask Easy. I was in that back room when Kansas State was playing Michigan State, and I was freaking out. Like, that was such a good game last year. Unfortunately, we lost, but it was exciting to watch. And Michigan State going into this tournament, yeah, they don't have the best team, but if Malik Hall can give them 15 points a game and guard play carries you in the tournament, and they have 3 fantastic guards that can carry them. AJ Hoggard had a coming out party against Illinois, so if he can continue 75% of that play, how he played against Illinois, I think they'll do better. But yeah, it's the talent pool is not as good as it used to be in college basketball, and I think that's a big turnoff for a lot of people.
You brought up some great points, Spenny, and I think you have every right to feel excited about even this year's tournament, because when you have a team that's as talented as Michigan State is, they could make a run even if their season as a whole has not been quite what you envisioned. But you mentioned too some of the best players are playing for G League or overseas, and even because I know one and done was something that was thought of as something that would kill college basketball, but some of those one and done teams, like those Kentucky teams, the one with Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist that won the championship, that was electric. Even in 2015, think about 2015, how electric this was. It had that Duke team that won it, where Mike Krzyzewski really embraced one and done with Jahlil Okafor and Justice Winslow. Yeah. And that same year was that Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, Kentucky team that lost in the Final Four to those rats from Wisconsin, by the way. Yeah. F them. F Frank Kaminsky and all of them. But those were exciting. Those were electric. You even look at the 2005 North Carolina, 2009 North Carolina. Those were teams that won national championships. You know very well about the 2009 team that had 3 first-round draft picks led by Ty Lawson, Wayne Ellington, and Tyler Hansbrough. Tyler Hansbrough, he was a figure in college basketball. He was. But then you even look back at some of those old teams, like those Duke teams from the early 90s with, like, I Hate Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley and Grant Hill. As much as you hated them, they were must-see TV, and you knew who they were. And then you had adversarial teams that I think a lot of the country rooted for at that time, like UNLV, led by Larry Johnson. Everybody knew them, and a lot of people rooted for them to beat Duke. And then the Fab Five with Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, and Juwan Howard, who I want's Fab Five legacy gone as well. But that notwithstanding,
can't do that
was
look at what you're talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about where you could follow teams.
Yes.
Now you just mentioned we drafted an 18-year-old out of a development league.
Yeah.
You got guys that don't go to college; they go to the G League. Yeah. You got one and dones, maybe two and dones. Shouldn't we here in Detroit with the team we have be dialed in to say who's gonna come and save us? Who are we gonna? Who's coming? But there's no commitment to that. Then it goes to the Michigan, your best basketball team in this state's Oakland, right? Which brings everybody down. You got the football Jones that we've never experienced, so we've never gone into a college basketball March season dialed into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl.
Right.
And coming off that lows. I mean, the why can be explained, but the excitement of either wanting to beat the Christian Laettners and the Dukes or whatever, or cheering the Fab Five, or having, the North Carolina powerhouses or this or that. I just think a lot of it has to do with, like, people don't have a commitment because of their team. You're talking about your team, right? You just led the Big D Energy show, how gross it is to be a Michigan basketball fan. They lose by 29 last night, and just different things like that. So I think it explains it to the point that across the country, that March Madness, the first 2 days for the gamblers and stuff, Vegas hops, and that sort of gets it back on. But I think that this is just, it might be just one of those storms because of the type of year. But again, you got to think that your commitment is more to football because you have a national championship team. You have a team that we're talking about, Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah.
Something got to be put in the back burner.
I understand.
Red Wings are coming on.
Yeah.
Basketball and it doesn't help that your NBA team sucks, so you're not seeing round ball going, oh, let's go watch this. It's not there. That's just the why that I can see why Kenny would say what it is.
It's just, to me, if things continue on the way that they're going in terms of like college basketball and the landscape, it's in the next 15 years, I don't see it having near the same popularity that it once had. So I could be wrong in that, but I know the fanatics will argue me about that. But
it's kind of being held up by the popularity of sports gambling right now.
Yeah.
Well, that too, yeah.
And I mentioned all of those teams from even the early 90s or the mid 2000s, or if you want to go back even farther, teams of players that people knew. People loved to hate Duke. People wanted UNLV and Michigan to knock them off. I mean, even when you look into NCAA tournaments,
when I was growing up, the Big East. I mean,
Big East.
like Georgetown, St. John's. You'd be on a Saturday and you'd be watching it. Yeah, there's this Patrick Ewing guy.
Yeah.
There's always, like, you'd always catch a game, and even if you weren't a basketball, the quarter, just wow, there's this Christian, there's this Bobby Hurley, there's these Krzyzewski team. Who's gonna take down Duke?
Yeah, Joe Feel-Good story.
There was some buzz through it. There's no buzz to anything. Who's the best player in college basketball?
You can't even tell me.
I can't.
Seriously. To your point, Kenny.
Caitlin Clark.
Absolutely. and to your point, I've watched 3 different parts of 3 different, because and everybody else had too, because if they turned on the pregame to the NFC Championship. But Caitlin Clark, I know her.
Right.
Women's champion, Iowa, whatever like that. The women's game, actually, Kenny, might be pulling. Women's basketball might be coming more. You see it more on TV and
that's
people
true.
following it and supporting it. I don't know, but that's the one that's taking the hit.
You made a good point, D-Mac. Like, where are the Georgetowns? Where are the Wake Forests? Where are the UCLAs?
Villanova. Where's that? Where's all those?
Yeah.
Right, where's that SEC out east, right? Like in college basketball, it's always those East teams. Where's the Syracuse? Boeheim and these guys.
Boeheim and Coach K retiring was definitely a big hit for college basketball, and I think, Izzo, he doesn't have much more time left either. When you have like pillars of college basketball like Jim Boeheim and Coach K retire, that's definitely going to hit the popularity.
And then Roy Williams, Jay Wright. I mean, you could go on and on and on. All of the legends are dying. And then if you want to go to another 80s team that was really popular, like where's the mid-major team that becomes like Phi Slamma Jamma? I mean, I know
there's always one coming up, or there's always that surprise you don't know.
I know still remember the UConn like Hassan Tabit led UConn like Huskies. Like, come on, man, it's just not the same.
And if you want to go back even further, probably the best UConn team, the one with Ben Gordon and Emeka Okafor, that was an electric team. Those were must-see teams and must-see players. And right now, you're not getting it because you don't know any of the players, because some of the best ones are either one and done or they're going to the G League or whatnot. And it's unfortunate, and especially if you're a Michigan fan like myself, you are more than happy to see college basketball go by the wayside, and for me to do the just theoretical. I'm not going to arson anybody, like the burn down of the program and the Jimi Hendrix. Go away, Michigan basketball. Go away. But that's neither here nor there. But you know what is realistic to the point where I'm looking at it right now? Lady Jane's.
Absolutely. I'll be there getting my hair ditted up after this. And hey, Rake, you know what? Don't worry about the 3-point line. Was around when I was growing up. Show some respect to the Canadian who invented the game of basketball, baby. Anyways, if you want to get your hair done too, come to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for award-winning haircut experience and register to win a trip of your dreams. All expenses paid. If you want to go, you'll get a suite in 2024 NCAA basketball tournament. That's right, you and 5-year buds, no expenses spared. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Last segment of the show, man, it is flying by. Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network. I'm Flannel Sam, doing the show with my good friend, 4-time Stanley Cup champion for the Detroit Red Wings, Darren McCarty. We got KG in the sound booth and Spencer Rexter in the TD booth. And for the rest of the show, just drop some questions if you have some for Darren McCarty, KG, Spencer Rexter, myself. Go right ahead, and we will try to get to as many of them as we can. Adiz 411, no rants from Sam. Good show. Well, you know what? Sometimes I just don't have them in me, and sometimes it's kumbaya. But other times, as you have seen from if you've been watching the network for a long time, it is certainly not. But I'm always happy to have more of a fun, non-contentious show any day.
You want to know what I've noticed?
What's up?
Whenever you wear flannels, you're more chilled out. But when the short sleeves come out, watch out. That's Sam at his worst.
That's fair.
Maybe.
How many straight days of flannel did you end up?
You know, I did end up losing count. I'd have to go back and sort of recheck the film, but I might.
I think you made it.
I probably did for sure. Those were some fun times, but oddly enough, KG, I chose to be a little bit more liberal with my flannel usage or lack thereof after a show that I was not very happy with. It was at a Feldman, and that show that was one of my. I was yelling.
A great day.
I was yelling and like cussing so much that I'm pretty sure that everybody who was getting cars were like, "Who the F is this guy?" That was not, but I'm not proud of it. But that was the day where I'm like, I'm gonna change some things around. That is for sure.
That was a funny day.
Man,
my favorite was
happens to the best of us.
Sam's. I get laid. I'm fucking married.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. Real cream of wheat mentions it. I have a wife. Man.
Oh, dude, that was fucking epic.
I actually looked back at that footage a couple of times, and I'm just like, Jesus, man, I am a lunatic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there were like women like 5 feet away from me.
Right. I thought he was looking like.
Hey, Kenny, as you see, and then you know, like you mess with your boys all the time, and then you see when they eventually crack, and then we're like, okay now, like, moving on. Let Sam calm down. No, but Sam, I'll tell you this. You've always been a good sport, and you know what? Whether I agree with you or not, you have your reason, and I think that I signed my book. I call it Enjoy My Truth, right? So I have my truth. You have your truth. Wonder sometimes where it comes from, but again, that's you being you, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
I appreciate that, and I feel the same way about you and everybody in this room. It's a hell of a great group. Brazzaro, Brandon Katz, what a great guy. We all have bad days, Sam. Don't beat yourself up over it. What a nice guy.
And by the way, you said he was spitting earlier, and he commented back, he doesn't spit, it's impolite.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's my favorite account.
We all know that Bizarro Brandon Katz.
All of you, we appreciate.
Oh, yes.
Through everything, and you know, sort of the lulls of the season and different things like that, we do appreciate everybody joining in, no matter what it is. We are one big family, as I always say. You know, Woodward Sports is about the people. Hopefully, we can prove that to you.
Yeah. This is a great. We have the best audience. We have the best chat on all of the shows. It's always fun to interact with you guys. And just a fan. Sam stands on business, even when he is dead wrong. And I am sure a lot of you disagree with me on a lot of things, but
you know nothing but standing on business. That is a fact.
I appreciate that. Steve O'Baby, Sam, when are we going to see your first wrestling match? Never.
Sam in the wrestling ring? What you think, D-Mac? You think he
D-Mac with
wrestling material?
I think that would be a worse place even than a hockey rink that he showed up on.
Yeah. No, I can't even deny
we might
that.
be able to find him in there sometime.
Yeah.
Well, if I have anything to say about it, you won't. But you know what? I think that is a perfect, on that note, I think it's a perfect time to end the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's the first show I've done on the desk with Darren McCarty in a long time. It's been a lot of fun. As always,
I'm on my way to the UK tomorrow. I'll be back Tuesday. So we are going to go play in the tables and glass across the pond.
On a Tuesday.
I'm going to bring back some, I got a list of some like the English candies are like the best. So I'm going to bring back a little assortment.
Just no jellied eels, please.
What's that?
Jellied eels. I heard they eat jellied eels.
You want jellied
eels?
eels?
No, I said no jellied eels.
Why would you bring? That's like something Sam would do. Like don't bring, whatever it is. I'll bring back some good stuff.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Right, so thanks to everybody, and we'll have some good video.
Yes, for all of you, if we have a ton of other great shows, tune in to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, and then the Woodward Heavyweights from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow, Wake Up Woodward, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. live on Big D Energy. Peace.